They thought he was finished. The travelling fans from Sheffield United arrived at the racecourse with mocking chants, ready to remind Kieffer of his past mistakes. But by the time the final whistle blew on a chaotic 8-goal thriller, the sarcasm had turned to silence. Wrexham didn't just win a football match, they orchestrated one of the most dramatic comebacks of the Championship season. From 3-1 down to a stunning 5-3 victory, this was a statement. And at the centre of it all was the man the Blades let go, delivering a performance and a post-match verdict that cut deeper than any chant ever could.
Football has a funny way of writing scripts, and on Boxing Day, Kieffer held the pen. The narrative going into this match was heavy. Moore, a former Sheffield United player, had endured a difficult spell at Bramall Lane. He managed only 6 goals in 30 appearances for the Blades and faced severe backlash from their supporters after a costly mistake in the Championship playoff final against Sunderland back in May. The away end at the racecourse made sure he remembered it, subjecting the striker to sarcastic chants as Wrexham fell behind early in the first half. But the Welsh international, a £2 million summer signing for the Red Dragons, chose to answer on the pitch. Moore was simply unplayable. He netted a brace, taking his tally to 10 league goals for the campaign, and proved to be the catalyst for Wrexham's resurgence. Speaking after the match, Moore did not hide his feelings. His response to the mockery was as clinical as his finishing. He admitted that the criticism from the United fans absolutely motivated him. He said, quote, "You get criticism, you get praise. You need to keep on an even keel, but I am delighted for myself. They can keep saying what they can say, and I can just keep producing on the pitch." End quote. It was a brutal, honest shutdown of the noise. While the Blades are left regretting letting him go, Moore is thriving in North Wales, proving that he is far from a spent force.
To understand the magnitude of this victory, we must look at the disastrous start that could have buried a lesser team. The opening 24 minutes were a defensive nightmare for Phil Parkinson's men. The racecourse was stunned into silence almost immediately. Just 7 minutes in, former lead striker Patrick Bamford unleashed a stunning volley to put the visitors ahead. Although Wrexham found a quick equaliser through an own goal by Tyler Binden, the defensive frailty was alarming. Bamford struck again, and a header from Callum O'Hare extended Sheffield United's lead to 3-1. At that moment, Wrexham looked lost. The defending left a lot to be desired, and the gap in quality between a newly promoted side and a team recently in the Premier League seemed painfully evident. The atmosphere was tense. The 5-game winless run looked certain to extend to 6. But just before the break, a lifeline appeared. Kieffer rose to meet a cross, powering a header into the net. That goal changed everything. It reduced the deficit to 3-2 and sent the Reds into the dressing room with a renewed sense of belief. Credit must go to Phil Parkinson for a tactical shift that paid dividends. The manager reverted to a 3-4-3 system, deploying a front three of Josh Windass, Kieffer and Nathan Broadhead. It was a bold move, designed to attack with purpose, and it worked perfectly. While the defence struggled early on, the attack was electric. Nathan Broadhead, the club's record signing from Ipswich Town, produced arguably his best performance in a Wrexham shirt. Operating on the left of the front three, Broadhead ran the Sheffield United defence ragged. He was the architect of the chaos, supplying the vital pass for Moore to eventually put the Reds ahead. Broadhead has shown glimpses of his quality since arriving, but this was the game where he truly announced himself. His pace and direct running terrified the Blades, proving that when Wrexham attack with this level of intensity, few teams in the Championship can live with them. The second half was a complete reversal of fortunes. Wrexham stepped up a gear and Sheffield United simply crumbled under the pressure. Early in the second period, Ryan Longham found the equaliser with a header, levelling the score at 3-3. The racecourse was shaking. The momentum had shifted entirely to the home side. Then came the moment of redemption. Kieffer Moore, the man mocked by the visitors, fired Wrexham into the lead for the first time in the match. The turnaround was relentless. To cap off the madness, Josh Windass stepped up to the penalty spot and confidently smashed home the 5th goal, sealing a 5-3 victory. It was a performance of pure character. To come back from 3-1 down against a side of Sheffield United's calibre requires more than just skill, it requires a mentality that refuses to accept defeat. Amidst the chaos and the goals, one performance deserves special praise. George Thomason, usually a midfielder, was asked to fill in at left wing-back due to a suspension for James McLean and international duty for Issa Kabore. It was a massive ask against a dangerous Sheffield United attack. Thomason didn't just fill a gap, he was brilliant. The 24-year-old, who joined from Bolton Wanderers in the summer, had a hand in the first 3 goals and won the penalty that Windass converted. Phil Parkinson highlighted Thomason as a prime example of the squad's depth and attitude. After struggling with injury and fighting for his place in the hierarchy, Thomason produced a man-of-the-match display in an unfamiliar position. Parkinson revealed that the dressing room erupted in applause for Thomason after the game. It is these kinds of performances from the so-called marginal players that define a successful season. Thomason has given the manager serious food for thought heading into the busy festive schedule.
The final whistle at the racecourse ground didn't just signal a hard-fought victory for Wrexham, it ignited a simmering sense of what could have been within the Sheffield United technical area. As the celebrations erupted in the stands, the cameras pivoted to Chris Wilder, a man whose 3rd homecoming as Blades manager was being haunted by a ghost of the club's very recent past. His frustration was etched into every line of his face, a cocktail of tactical disappointment and the bitter irony of being undone by a player who, by all rights, should still have been under his command. Wilder, who returned to the Bramall Lane dugout in September with the task of steadying a shaking ship, found himself in the uncomfortable position of explaining a clerical surrender he hadn't even authorized. He was quick to clarify the timeline, making it known that the decision to let Kieffer Moore depart had been finalized in the bureaucratic vacuum before his arrival. There was no sugarcoating his assessment. He was blunt, almost clinical in his regret. He stated with a heavy sense of finality that the move had nothing to do with him, adding the stinging observation that if he had been holding the pen, Moore would be anywhere else but in a Wrexham shirt right now. It was a startlingly honest admission from a manager usually known for his grit and deflection. Wilder conceded that Moore's dominant display throughout the 90 minutes had likely forced a few uncomfortable realizations within the Sheffield United boardroom, effectively changing minds far too late to matter. This wasn't just a post-match moan, it was a public validation of the sheer audacity and foresight shown by Wrexham's recruitment team. Where the Blades hierarchy saw a surplus asset or a wage to be trimmed, Wrexham saw a focal point, a seasoned spearhead capable of dismantling top-tier opposition. On this Boxing Day, the difference between the two sides wasn't just found in the scoreline, but in the vision to recognize a match winner that others had simply discarded. This was not just a thrilling game, it was a crucial one for the league standings. The victory ended a worrying 5-game winless run for Wrexham, a streak that included 3 draws and defeats to Hull and Swansea. In a relentless division like the Championship, stopping the rot quickly is essential. Wrexham now sit 13th in the table at the halfway stage of the season, with 31 points from 23 games. For a newly promoted side, this is a formidable position. They have adjusted well to the step-up, and while the start to the campaign was slow, they have been competitive in every single match. Phil Parkinson noted that the team should now be looking towards the playoffs in the second half of the season, rather than worrying about a relegation battle. Beating a team like Sheffield United in such emphatic style is a statement of intent. It proves that on their day, at the racecourse, Wrexham can beat anyone.
5 goals against the Championship heavyweight, a comeback from the brink of disaster, and a striker who served his revenge cold. Boxing Day at the racecourse will be remembered for a long time. This team has heart, they have firepower, and they are absolutely fearless. If you thought the drama was over, think again. The festive schedule is brutal, and the next challenge is already looming. Make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss a second of this incredible journey. Up the town.